Találkozz a világ legismertebb sneaker személyiségeivel, Sean Wotherspoonnal, Culture Kicks-el, csekkold több mint 15 országból a kiállítókat, az esemény szívét, a magyar kiállítókat és eladókat, és a beszélgetéseket a magyar és külföldi street kultúra személyiségeivel a Culture Street színpadon. Érkezz családdal, érkezz haverokkal, mindenki jól fog érezni magát. Sneakerness Budapest, jegyek a vantiket.hu-n, november 8-9.
Kérlek, köszöntsétek velem sok-sok szeretettel Staple Pigeon alapítóját, Mr. Jeff Staple! Thank you. Here you go. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm back.
He's back. How do you like Budapest so far?
Oh, I'm loving it. I'm eating so much good food.
You're in love with dating, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm super happy you took that recommendation.
But before we start, I need you to do something for me.
Okay.
I need you to sign my book for me, man. Come on. Can you please sign, please?
This is probably, I'm sorry, I don't even know what to say. This is
please,
maybe
this guy is the future, so I want him to sign my book because in 20 years he'll be running the world, and then I can say I have a signed book from Tommy. Yes. Woo. One time for Tommy. He made all this stuff happen. It's amazing. Thank you, man. I surprised you with this one, right?
I'm getting emotional right now.
He's writing a long message to me now.
Well, I would read a lot longer one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you too.
You have no idea how much this actually means. Well, I will also get my book signed from you, and also my Pigeon Dunks. That's for sure. But thank you really so much, Jeff. It's really difficult to start a conversation after something like this happening in an according way and in the right way. But I think the best way to do it is to actually create some value together and give some valuable thoughts, insights, and thoughts into the future to our audience today. Jeff, what you have built up over the past years and decades is truly incredible. You will be here for the Size Up startup competition as well. You will be doing the opening statement. And you will also see lots of young entrepreneurs. And also yesterday we walked around a bit before opening, and while we still could move around with you, and you saw so many young designers and brand owners from Hungary. What do you think is the current tendency of what young artists and brand owners think like in this industry, the new generation? You were talking a lot yesterday about finding the balance between art and science. What do we currently tend more towards?
Well, I think it's natural. And even though I've been in this for like 20, 30 years now, I'm seeing a lot of the same cycles happen, which is a good thing. I'm seeing a lot of art and a lot of originality and creativity, and a lot of raw talent, which is usually how it has to begin. It has to begin that way. And then eventually they'll start to develop more of a business sense and try to combine the art and the science. But it's okay right now that they're just doing what makes them happy, what gives them a lot of joy. And that's the most important thing first. I
feel like there are lots of designers or artists who are in some way afraid of if they go viral, if they reach a bigger audience, that they lose their authenticity, or they just lose the. I see lots of artists who are actually a bit scared of getting big. Yeah. But how did you manage to keep your street credibility in the end, and the magic and the insider point of the whole Staple brand and the whole Pigeon brand, while also reaching an incredible amount of people?
Yeah, I mean, for any creative, the difficult balance is you're trying to like pay rent and eat food on the one hand and survive, right, in your business. But on the other hand, you're afraid of, in America, I don't know if you have this term here, it's called selling out.
Yeah.
Selling out, right? So like you don't want to be a sellout. And that's like, I don't want to be too successful, but I still want to be able to pay my employees and pay for my way of living, right? So there's like that balance. And for me, the thing is when you talk about being scared to sell out or being scared of success, it's because you actually care about what other people think about your business. I just didn't care. I mean, as an artist, you care a little bit. It's natural for you to care, oh, what will people think about this? But just only let that in your head for like 1 hour at most. And then after that, you just have to be like, do I want to do this? Does this feel right to me? And then you just have to make the decision to do it. Whereas I think a lot of young creatives spend 99% of their time thinking about what other people will think and not about what they will think.
I see what you mean. In your book, in Not Just Sneakers by Jeff Staple, you share so many incredible stories. You actually share insights and pictures of your actual notes that started everything and your first designs. It's incredible. But what for me was especially a favorite story in the whole book is when you actually received your first big aha moment, which was at the same time also a big scary moment when you got the huge order. For that time, huge order. For now, probably you're thinking, oh, that was a small order. But for your size of brand, at that time you got 1,000 orders.
Yeah, 1,000
from Japan, and you were basically screen printing your shirts in your high school or in your school, and just basically doing it in a halfly legal way, but definitely not in a sustainable way. It was a bittersweet moment. We had this question about bittersweet moments. How do you deal with that? How can you overcome that? And when do you think, how can you actually tell when the right moment is to make the call or not to, or to be able to say no?
Yeah, you just have to listen to yourself. You know, like that was a 1,000 shirt order. At the time, I was only selling maybe 20 to 30 shirts. And then all of a sudden it went from 20 to 30 to 1,000, right? So it was like a huge jump. So I had two choices to make. I could either say no, too much, which we talked to a brand yesterday who said he would say no. I said yes, let's do it. And that is like it takes the brand on a whole different trajectory. That was like what we call a crossroads. You know, they have this thing called the butterfly effect, where like depends on how the ripple happens. If I said no, I think I would be okay, but it would take me on a whole different path. But by saying yes, I was in Japan overnight. I had 1,000 shirts out there. It totally changed the course of me and the business, you know. But at the end of the day, I think you just have to ask yourself, oh man, it's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to like, do I do it or do I not do it? You know, like, and every day in your life, you have to make those decisions. Are you going to come to Sneakerness today? Are you going to stay home today? Are you going to do your homework? Are you not going to do your homework? Are you going to play the video game? Are you going to study for the exam? Like every day you're making these left, right, A, B decisions. And so this is just another one that you have to like ask yourself, what do you want to do?
I see. You just mentioned you have to make the decision yourself. You have to let things happen naturally in some way. Yesterday with Hiroshi, we also talked about how important it is that we find this right size of art and actually not necessarily create huge PDFs and spreadsheets, but we actually talk to people and to create these moments in a natural way. How can you, I think the actual art of this whole thing is being able to in some way lead the naturality of it. So in some way create these moments without them seeming like sellout moments or without them seeing like being too set up. For example, your first actual photo shoot with another artist was with Mos Def, is that right? Yeah, and it was also like exactly this halfway thing. Like it created something huge. It created a huge business profit, and I'm pretty sure you in some way were prepared for it. But in the end, it was just a classic alley shoot or elevator shoot, like something completely natural.
Yep, that's exactly right. Many times I think about like you can't control the outcome of everything. You know, you can't make it 100% perfect. But you can go to 70%, 80% perfect. But then the rest of it is a little bit of luck, a little bit of chance, a little bit of opportunity. But the more prepared you are from 0 to 80, the more likely 81 to 100 will be really good. So my thing is, let's pre-plan as much as you can, the first part, to allow as much, you know, at the end it's going to look like, oh, Tommy got lucky. This Tommy built it. He got lucky though. No, but they don't know that you spent all this time doing this preparation so that it looks like you got lucky.
Yeah, it's so often about this one moment where the right impulses kick, the right things play together. And in some way also sneaker releases and drops are like that. And I don't necessarily just want to ask you about the stable pigeon, the shoe itself, the first OG pigeon, because you have talked so much about it. But in the end, it really connects to this topic, and I'm also sure our whole audience is super curious about how the first drop went down back then. And maybe if for some people, if they look at it, it just seems like chaos. It just seems like, I wouldn't say luck because I don't think anyone thought that was luck because that was actually incredible. But it was actually just a perfect match of so many things that just molded into that one moment that created such a shockwave right there. Yeah. How prepared were you for that? I'm not asking how much you expected it to happen, but how much did you work towards that? Did you have that vision for it?
No, I mean, that was really like a rare occurrence that happened, but it did require a lot of pre-planning. Like we were designing the Pigeon Dunk for over 2 years, right? Seeing samples, different models and everything, having the concept, presenting it to Beaverton, coordinating with, that was part of the anniversary of the Pigeon Dunk, or the Dunk release, 35th anniversary of the Dunk. So there was a lot of planning. And then when it came to February 2002, it started to get a little bit like, you know, kids started camping outside for 5 days. And it started to get a little bit like, oh, wow, what's going on? We didn't prepare for this part. So we had to go with it a little bit. And then on the day of the release, when it started to get really crazy and there was a riot, that's where we were just kind of like, you know, when you're riding a horse and then all of a sudden the horse goes crazy and you just are like holding on for dear life. That's the feeling that we had. But we were trusting the preparation that we could hold on to this horse, you know? And, you know, a lot of lucky things happened. Like, for instance, the newspaper cover, like the woman who wrote that newspaper article, she lived in the same neighborhood as the store. Yeah, so she was able to see it and then write the article so that the next morning it was on, you know? So like little things like that is like lucky, but I think if we didn't have the pre-prep, it wouldn't have mattered that she lived on the same block, you know?
Wow. Yeah. You mentioned the design process of the Pigeon, and today we call it the Pigeon Dunk, but actually back then it was not the Pigeon Dunk, it was the 25th anniversary of the Dunk New York collaboration. You mentioned in an interview before that you're actually exploring lots of concepts. You had some Empire State or the Statue of Liberty designs, I believe, or Empire State.
No, we didn't. We didn't. Like, when I say we just thought about it. Like we never even like sketched it. Yeah.
But I mean, for so many people, if they would say, okay, here is your chance to create a collab. If someone says, okay, create the Budapest collab, then you say, oh, the Parliament is beautiful. But obviously there are these small little spots and the secret hidden gems that actually make people go crazy and bring out the actual emotion. But that's definitely not playing safe. You could have played it safe, but in the end you created something that has like totally outlived the concept of the whole collab, because the Paris Dunk stayed the Paris Dunk, but this is not the New York Dunk. This is the Pigeon Dunk. This is your sneaker. Right. How can you find that right feeling as an entrepreneur, as a young designer, to find those right spots and not to go too mainstream or to go too safe with a decision?
Yeah, you have to be able to want to take that risk and do something different. You know, when if you guys ever have the opportunity to work with Nike or design a Nike shoe, right?
He's saying that so casually.
Yeah, it's like a dream come true, I understand. But you're gonna have two choices, right? One is you're gonna say, let me do the safe thing so that I can maybe always get to work with Nike. Or you can say, no, let me gamble everything, make the most amount of noise, and maybe Nike will never call me again, but at least I tried my best, you know? Like, and those are the two things that you have to do. I think for the Pigeon Dunk, I mean, it was definitely risky, but I don't think I was thinking Nike will never work with me again for the Pigeon Dunk. But when I presented the idea of the pigeon to Nike, they definitely did not understand it at all.
Were there any New Yorkers in the boardroom at that time?
No, it was all people who've never lived in New York. So that's why they were like, okay, we kind of trust you that this makes sense to New Yorkers. But
then it also resonated with so many people around the world from big cities, and I think even from people from Budapest get the whole pigeon idea.
Yeah, that was the happy accident. I thought pigeons just represented New York City, but you know, because I didn't travel the whole world yet. But then when I went to Barcelona, Vienna, Budapest, like I see pigeons everywhere here. I just saw really beautiful white pigeons here. Yeah, there's pigeons everywhere. So I think everyone who lives in a city thought that the pigeon was kind of like their animal, you know? Yeah.
Okay, but what I'm also super curious about is after you create a shoe like that, which is obviously a huge success, it becomes a staple. It becomes something that is untouchable for many people. Many people maybe wouldn't even dare to make a sequel to that. How do you start thinking again when the brand comes up again and says, okay, let's reboot it, let's create it again? Where did you start from when you created the next pigeon? What was your original idea?
Well, you know, My man here is wearing the sequel, right? Yeah, that's the sequel. And you're wearing the next sequel.
I'm wearing the sequel of the
sequel. And don't forget, there was the What the Dunk.
Right.
The What the Dunk also had the pigeon on it, you know? So there were 4 Nikes with pigeons on them. And when we started to work on that one, I think most of the sneaker community said, please retro the pigeon, right? The OG
pigeon.
They
really say, please retro it?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
99% of the community would want the pigeon retroed, I think, because it's such a mythological thing that most people haven't even seen it in real life. Oh, they've only seen it on the internet. So
that's
when
true.
you see somebody holding it, it's like, you know, like a grail, you know, like a true grail.
Have you ever, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm still curious. Have you ever actually thought about retroing it? Like, was it on the table?
No. Yeah, it was on the table. Yeah, we thought about retroing it exactly as a low. We also thought about doing it as a high top, because you remember, like, De La Soul came out as a retro high.
Exactly.
Like, a bunch of lows came out as highs at that time. So we were like, should we do a high? And the head of Nike SB at the time and I, you know, we're very close friends. And man, we spent so many hours debating, should we retro, should we retro? It was tough. And then finally we decided, you know what, let's not retro it. Let's keep the OG super, super special. It's such a tough decision because it's such a special thing. And it's like, should we keep it special for the 300 people who own it? Or should we retro it and make it available to everybody, you know? And I still don't know what the right answer is, to be honest. Like, maybe if we retroed it, it'd be like crazy, but I'm glad that people still cherish the OG Pigeon Dunk. So we finally decided to go with the black pigeon, which the concept around that was like, let's hit a full reset button. Let's just reset, no retro, no high, full reset. And what does a full reset look like? It's all black, and we start there. So it's all black, and then we just had the pink on the bottom. Really clean. We made it waterproof leather, you know, so that was like sort of the start of a new chapter, which then allowed for this to happen, you know. So that took 10 years after OG Pigeon Dunk. This one only took 1 year after that one, you know, so this was like the evolution.
So you just mentioned it. That took 10 years. This just took a few years.
Yeah, 1.
The sneaker industry is getting a lot faster. We're getting collabs a lot faster. Would it still be possible to create something as big as the Pigeon Dunk again?
It's really hard now. You know, I think a lot of shoes that come out now are incredible shoes, but I don't think they have the same lasting power as the shoes back then. I don't think that's the shoe's fault or the brand's fault. I actually think that's like social media's fault, because when the OG Pigeon Dunk came out, there was no social media yet. It was just blogging. But I think now with blogs plus social media, there's just too much content. So like we can't absorb it anymore, you know, no matter how good the shoe is.
I see. I want to go back to the topic we mentioned yesterday. You wrote a book and you created the staple verse at the same time. Two total opposites. How do you think will, you know, let's say print and innovation work together in the future? I feel like a few years ago, like around 2016, 17-ish, there was a big wave of people saying, oh, print is dead. And then now it's like resurfacing in as a collectible and as something so valuable source of information. Like maybe we haven't seen it in many years, what a hype print has currently. What will it look like in the next years, in your opinion?
I don't think print's going away. I think it'll still be kind of niche and small. But people will love print just like people love, you know, manual cars or like vinyl records. It's kind of like a collectible and like a relic of the past. But it was really interesting to work with like an old school Italian publisher, Rizzoli, and NFTs and Web3, you know? So it's like I was working in the future and the past at the same time.
Do they actually, like, let's say you said it's an old school Italian publisher. They have done multiple books into the streetwear and sneaker topic. They've worked with Supreme on books, etc., etc. How much do they actually believe in the power of this culture? I think in your Business of Hype episode with Woody from Sneaker Freaker, he was explaining how when he was working with Taschen, they were in some way surprised of what a power this whole community and this whole culture had. Obviously, you know, Rizzoli has worked in this area before, but how much do they expect from this community? How much do they realize what great force is going in here?
Rizzoli is very, very supportive of it. they did actually 2 Hiroshi books already, and they're doing a 3rd one now.
Oh.
Yeah, so they've done the Cause book, Supreme book, you know. I think they've done an Off-White book as well. So yeah, they're very, very supportive.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Can you share with us what next you're working on? You mentioned the flagship store yesterday.
Yeah, we're gonna have a staple store in early next year in New York City. I also want to work on more books, but maybe not like this book. Maybe more like this kind of a book, like a manuscript. I also, you know, I'm a huge collector of like lots of things, like sneakers, watches, art, old school like streetwear T-shirts. So I kind of want to do books that like show my entire collections of stuff. I think that'd be fun for people to see. So yeah, books, retail store. It's gonna be a lot of stuff.
That's fantastic. That's actually incredible. What do you think? How much different it is to start a brand, start a company, start something on your own from a little bit of an underrated place or underrated country than if you go, let's say, to New York? And I mentioned this to you when we were doing the interview yesterday. I love this take from you that so many people actually think that coming from New York and coming from a big city is an advantage, and their comfort sentence is if they don't reach the success that they want, well, oh, I'm not from a big city, I don't have that opportunity. Is it actually easier from big towns, big cities, big nations to go big, or do you think in any other way?
I actually now really believe that if you're from a smaller city, you have an easier time to be successful because you can make more noise and there's less competition now. So I really do think that coming from a small city, you can do a lot now. And because of the internet and social media, you can get a big following, you know. The problem with starting a brand coming out of a city like New York or Tokyo is so much competition, you know, like literally there'll be 1,000 other brands. So you have to fight against all 1,000. But here, if you start a brand, maybe there's only 12. And so if you could be number 1 in this city, like easier than in a big city.
How do you think is the relationship between, on one hand, obviously competition in the market, in the same niche, in the same area, coming together with collaboration culture that is getting so much and so much more stronger over the last years and receiving the hype it really deserves? How can you actually compete with someone while collaborating with them? Can you actually be collaborating with someone who you actually compete with? What is your take on that? What is your thoughts on that? How do you balance that out in your own experience? Yeah,
we collaborate with competitive brands all the time.
Because also for you, you also wrote about it in the book that for you it was pretty late for the actual first collaboration to come out with someone from your own industry.
Yeah. We were collaborating with people outside of our industry first. But we see it all the time where like different brands who are sort of competitors with each other, they collaborate. And that's the really unique thing about street culture is that we're all friends in like the same boat, you know what I mean? So even though we're competitors, we're in such a niche subculture industry that we have to all survive together. It's like if one of us actually dies, it's not good for the whole industry. You know, like all of us need to do well.
Oh, I get that. That's definitely true. How about collaborating with brands outside of your industry? When do you decide which collaborations to take and which ones you shouldn't? You do amazing collabs. You're just working with Netflix right now. You have some incredible combinations there. Has there ever been anything where you said, this is so outstandingly non-matchable that you're not going to do it?
Yeah, we say no every week. Like, we just said no this week to a brand. I was talking with my guys at home, and we decided on saying no to stuff. So to me, there's like I use these 4 F's is like my equation, okay? I have 4 F's. F number 1 is, will it be fun? Number 1 is fun. Number 2, F stands for folio, like portfolio. So will this collaboration look good in my book, right? Like if I made another book, would I put this collaboration in that book or not, you know? So that's second F. Third F is financial, money, right? Is there enough money in it? Fourth F is friends and family. So sometimes it's like for the culture. Like you just do it because he's my family member, he's my best friend, I gotta do it. Like so if you're a designer and your best friend says, can you design my wedding invitation? You kind of have to do it, you know? That's like the friend and family. So those are the 4 Fs. And for me, at least 2 of them have to be checked off, at least. 2 is the minimum. 3 would be amazing, and 4 never happens. Like 4 is almost impossible.
Really?
Yeah, but a lot of times we get just the 1 F, you know? So it's like, oh, this is, you know, and the 1 F is like, oh, this is great for your career. If you do this, like, it's such a good look for you, but there's no money and it's not fun and it's not for a friend. So that's like only 1 F. And there's other jobs where it's like huge money, so much money, but doesn't look good for your book, won't be fun, and it's not a friend. So it's just one, and that's the most common one that we say no to, because those brands will try to entice you with lots of money. They'll just keep throwing money at you. But it, you know, and sometimes we get tricked into doing it because you need money to survive. So we'll say yes, but then almost 99% of the time we're like, man, we shouldn't have done this project. It sucked. You know, it needs at least 2 Fs.
When working with brands, I see many brands actually thinking that the collaboration is somewhat of a highway of a success to reaching a new generation, which it often is. But in the end, if they don't have like a foundation behind it, it's obviously not going to work on the long term, because we were talking about this. You can't, actually in our interview yesterday, you were mentioning you can't just build a complete brand of, let's say, just collaborating in some way or without having your own kind of foundation or just customizing some things of other people. What is your best advice on how to balance out collaborations and at the same time putting in your own inputs and creating your own message? It doesn't even have to be items.
Yeah. I mean, brands, you don't have to do collaborations, frankly. If it makes sense, you should do it. And to your point about like it's like an expressway to success, collaborations are actually good because typically for brands, like marketing is something that you lose money on, right? You spend money to do marketing. But if you do a good collaboration, you're spending money, but you might make the money back because you're selling something. So it's good marketing and you might make money. At worst, you might not make money, but you didn't spend a whole bunch of money. So that's why I actually think the secret to why so many brands love collaborations is because it's actually not a negative expenditure. It's a break even or a positive, you know? So that's why people love doing it. But other than that, I think you just have to pick the right authentic ones. And that's why my creative agency, Read Art Department, aka RAD, that's what we do. We help brands navigate collaboration so that they do them properly, you know? And we do it for the culture. We want to make sure that the culture is protected, not the brand, nor do we want to make sure that the artist is protected. We want to make sure the culture is protected.
We have many young people in the audience here, and I'm pretty sure, especially after hearing what all of the things you said, super inspired. But I often hear from young people as well, well, I am inspired, I want to do something, but I don't have that one topic, that one item, that one skill that might change everything for me, that I can build something up on. How do you start on that journey? Because you, also described in your book, and Not Just Sneakers, have gone through many stages, different universities, until you actually found not just the industry that you want to work in, but also the specific tool in the industry that you can express yourself with the best.
Yeah, I think that is the hardest thing for young people, is to figure out what they want to do. I suspect that here's the secret. I suspect you're already doing the thing that you actually want to do. You already know it. You're already doing it. You just think you can't possibly do that as your job because your mom or your dad or your boyfriend or girlfriend or your employer said, like, stop wasting your time doing that. In fact, I bet 99% of the time, the thing that someone says, stop wasting your time doing that, is the thing that you should be doing, you know? Because that's like the thing that you truly love. And if you really don't know what you love doing, then I would suggest what I did was I worked, like you said, at a lot of different jobs. You know, I got internships, I worked at a restaurant, I worked at a sneaker store, I worked everywhere, because then it's like I'm sampling all these different things and I'm testing what I like on myself. And so I was able to fine tune what I liked, you know? It's almost like if I asked you what your favorite food was, but you've only ever eaten at McDonald's, you can't really tell me what your favorite food is. You have to try everything, Japanese, you know, Italian, like Hungarian. You got to try all kinds of foods. Then you come back and you say, McDonald's is my favorite food. Then I'm like, yes, I trust you because you've tried all the food in the world. You like McDonald's the best, great. Go be a McDonald's expert, you know? But you have to try all of those things. And that's the same thing with work. You got to try all these different jobs out.
I hope from this point on, if anyone tells you not to do the one thing that you're passionate about, Jeff will be that one tiny voice in the back of your head telling you that's not the right way.
They say stop wasting your time doing this. That's the thing. That's probably the thing.
That's where he comes in. Thank you so much, Jeff. I think this is the time to give the questions to the audience. Hogyha van bármilyen kérdésnek, amit feltennétek Jeff Staplenek, de van még nagyjából egy 7 percünk, 8 percünk. Ez a 7 perc nem elég értékes, nem sokszor lesz még ilyen lehetőség, hogy Jefftől kérdezhetek egy színpadon, úgyhogy én csak azt gondolom, hogy itt az esély, hogy feltegyétek.
And we're signing books too, right?
And we're signing books afterwards, right over there, yes. Jobb oldalt, bal oldalt. Ki lesz az első bátor? Who's going to be the first one? There we are. I'm gonna run with the mic. Oops.
How are you today?
I'm great.
That's a good question. That's
That's a question?
That was it. Perfect. I mean, it's an important thing to ask.
I'm great. I'm having a great day.
You had a great breakfast as well.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Hi. Do you have any upcoming shoe collaboration in the future?
I can't hear the question. It's hard for me to answer the question because of the contract. They don't let me say it early. But I think over there at the sneakers.hu, sneakers.who, is that how you say it? They have our latest Puma collaboration. I can say that we have more Puma sneakers coming out. And then there's another brand that we're going to be doing a drop with that is very futuristic company. So I'm excited to do something with them.
Okay, hold on. Speaking of future, yesterday in our interview we were talking a bit about the 3D printing hype, Zellerfeld. What do you think will actually be the future of the sneaker industry? I mean, I've been dying to ask you this. I think this is my chance to do it.
Yeah, I think in our future, and when I say future, I mean like in the next 10 years. I think when you walk into a sneaker store, there'll be no inventory in the back. So you know right now, you say, I'm a size 9, and then they go to the back and then they give it to you, or they say, oh, we ran out of size 9, you know. I don't think there'll be inventory anymore. I think you're gonna go into a sneaker store and you're gonna say, I want this color, this top, this bottom, this elastic, this toe box, and I'm a size 4.5. And then they'll say, okay, come back in 20 minutes, and then it'll be made for you on the spot.
Incredible.
I think that's what's gonna happen in 10 years for sure. And that's great for everybody. That's great for the environment because we don't have to make all this waste. That's great for the store because they don't, you know, when you own a store, there's always going to be like, oh, we have all these size 12 sitting here. We can't sell, you know, we're sold out of size 9. We're rejecting all these people that want size 9. So it's bad for business, right? You can't guess all the sizes. So by making everything on demand, there's no stock, no inventory, no waste. You get the exact shoe that you want. Have you ever picked up a sneaker and you're like, man, I wish they just made this red. Like, yeah, you can make it red now. Go ahead, you know, and we'll make it just for you, you know?
Will that kill off the resale market?
Ooh, that's a good one. It might not because there's still a supply and demand issue, you know? And that's where the brands, like the big sneaker brands, are gonna have to figure out how to add marketing twists to make this. Because as we were saying with Hiroshi yesterday, and I agree, Nike ID for everybody is not the solution. I don't think everybody wants a unique one of one. They want to be part of a community. So the sneaker brands have to figure out how to still create community around fully customized shoes. Yeah.
Totally. I think this is the last round of questions that we would take. So if anyone has any more questions, this is your chance.
Hi, as an Asian American designer, will you put more Chinese elements in your design?
Oh, good question. So this is a complicated question because I'm Asian American, as you said. And when I grew up, I actually had to suffer a lot of racism. Every day, racism in my life. So when I started Staple in 1997, I was kind of hiding that I was Chinese. You know, I wanted Staple, the brand, to be in the front. I didn't want it to be known that it was Chinese because it it was difficult with racism, you know? And so for the first 15 years of the brand, it was always staple first, being Asian American second. And I'm still kind of trained that way. Today, I think if you're Asian growing up, it's a totally different world. We have so many Asian heroes now to look up to. So I'm trying to put more Asian heritage into my work. But, you know, like these are the panda pigeon dunks. So this is like, this is the Asian element in here, you know. But I'm trying to do more and more and get out of that like kind of racist victimization that I have felt all my life. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last one. Last question. After that, you'll actually be able to maybe even ask super short questions personally to Jeff on the signing hour. Is there anyone else who wants to do it publicly right now? 1, 2, 3. I think this is a no.
Okay.
Jeff.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us. I don't think there's a way in words to really possibly express the gratitude for making this historical moment happen with us. I am incredibly grateful to you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for coming. Jeff Staple. Thank you.